I'm very keen that we shouldn't squeeze masses of excess glue out of the shoulder line on the interior of the job. It doesn't matter how much glue squeezes to the exterior, because inevitably we're going to take a few shavings off that and clean it up. Now, when a pin goes into a socket, any glue here will be pushed down into that small void that we arranged for with our D+ gauge setting. However, if we consider the surface of a pin, any glue on the surface here is going to get pushed up towards this shoulder line and probably squeezed out on the interior of the job. Now, Professor Hoadley tells us that we should wet both sides of a glue joint, lack of wetting being the most common form of glue failure. So, considering those things, I'm going to be reasonably generous with my glue in the sockets here, because the excess will get pushed down into the little space. Particular care with the half pin. I find that glue-ups are a good time to take the phone off the hook, lock the doors. I always tell my students that it's a 10-minute opportunity to ruin a week's worth of work if it goes wrong. On the sides of the pins, I'm going to wet my brush and I'm going to very slightly dilute the glue. I've talked to glue manufacturers and most of them reckon that up to 20% of dilution is fine. I'm now going to try and cover the 2/3 nearest the end. I won't go right to the corner, but I am wetting the majority of the pin surfaces. As thinly as possible. If I see anything that looked too wet, I could go back with a dry brush and try and remove it a bit. Good. I've now got to do the long miters. Now I can be reasonably generous here. This glue is going to squeeze to the exterior where it won't do any harm, but I still like to double coat. In other words, glue both surfaces. There we go. Now I've got a sash clamp standing by because something that tapped together easily when it was dry may need a clamp because of the expansion caused by the water-based glue. I'm going to pop that into there. You feel the change straight away. Could get quite noisy. I might have to hit this quite hard. Now, the most important thing is that I close this shoulder line. So I'll get down and look at it properly. Splendid. Now the squareness and the closing of the long mitre are very much controlled by these little G-clamps. The pencil line goes through the centre of the joint at right angles to the surface, and they tell me roughly where I should be putting the clamp pads. A little squeeze there gets me a little squeeze out, which is what I want. The most important thing is to get it to close before the glue goes solid. Now I could see that this clamping pressure had closed a very, very small gap that there was there, so that's very pleasing. I'll go to the middle. I see tiny beads of glue coming out of the middle of the long mitre, which is a good sign. Another remarkable thing that you can do with these clamps is to have some control over the squareness of these two pieces. At the moment, this is slightly open. If I move the clamping points towards me, it should begin to bring that back to square. In fact, you may see it changing as you tighten the clamp. That's virtually spot on now. Let's just check the other side. That's good. No problem there. I'm ready to saw off the clamping blocks. First, I must take off the G-clamps. This sawing requires a spacer against the fence. I've been setting it up. If I shine a light across the sawn surface, you can see how smooth the majority is. And this may be because I installed a special variable pitch blade. There we go. That's lovely. It's time to plane it off.